Hey everybody, how you doing? And if I'm sitting in front of this, there's a reason. Now, there's half the reason, and here's the other half. I want to know what's in it, and then I want him to tell me all about it. Scott, say hello to all of your fans.
Hello. Which one is that? It should have a
This
little.
is labeled, he is so thorough, the boxes are labeled Miscellaneous Empire MC Files.
We'll leave that one to another time. Grab another one.
Grab another box. Hold
Yep,
that thought.
different one because we're going to do NELA today.
Now, this box weighs more than he does.
Yep, that's the one I want you to open.
And believe me when I tell you, it weighs more than he does. Whoa, mother of God. Hold on. Well, I got my exercise.
A medicine ball in the shape of a cardboard box.
This is labeled NELA, FFF, and I have a feeling that is not anonymous. I can't say those two words because this is actually going on YouTube and they will probably ban me. So, just to explain this, here it is, and I'm about to open it with Scott and with all of you.
And FFF stands for Fetish Flea Market.
That's the polite term. And it sounds so much better than the first thing that went through my mind. I swear every time I open a box from you, Scott, it's like Christmas morning. Now, let's begin with a slight story. First things first, this is from NELA. It is part of NELA's history. NELA, as you can see from Scott's banner, the New England Leather Alliance. The organization has probably a 35, give or take,
30.
year history. And
30.
to give you just a little of that history, go, Mr. Erickson.
Okay. The New England Leather Alliance actually started off as NLA New England. It was a part of NLAI, which is National Leather Association International. And they were a chapter. They were the New England chapter of NLAI, and they started in '91, and they went through the '90s, and in '92 they started the Fetish Flea Market, which was started by a woman by the name of Cecilia Tan. She got the idea of doing a flea market as a fundraiser for the organization, and nobody that was part of NLA New England wanted to do this. They were like, no, we're. And so Cecilia took a gamble on her own, and I think it was a $1,200 gamble that she put on her credit card. And I think it was charging $3 for people to come in, and they charged, money for tables for people to come in and sell things. And at the end of everything, where everything was all over and done with, they made $400, and they thought it was all the money in the world. And this is when NLA New England kind of went back and went, yeah, we kind of want to do this. So it ended up being done twice a year. And they ended up putting on 52 Fetish Flea Markets. The last one was just before COVID hit. That was number 52. So that was what, 2020? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was the last one. It was February of 2020 is when the last one was. I believe it was 2001, because they used to do it twice a year. It went to a 3-day weekend, and it moved all over Massachusetts and Rhode Island, the Fetish Flea Markets. And there were some summer fleas that actually happened in New Hampshire. That was in the, probably say 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. They were at another place that was in there. It traveled all over the place. it it was one of those where a lot of times we had problems with owners of hotels where they once they got wind that we were there went, no, thank you. We had a problem with Mansfield, and I believe that was 2005, where the town, we loved the hotel loved us, but the town of Mansfield didn't want us there. So they put a rule in that in order for us to continue to do the event there, we had to get a permit, and the permit was $10,000, and we went, yeah, we're not paying that, and
Oh,
we want. But they got what they wanted in the end. The whole point of why they did that was that they didn't want those people in their town. So it was one of those things with the flea. It moved all over the place, and mostly because of our own content, and it was rather disheartening to hear about that, to actually go through that an awful lot. Over the years, NELA had given over $100,000 in charitable contributions as a result of the money that it raised from the flea. And typically when it went to the 3-day weekend, eventually it turned into an attendance on the winter flea at around 3,000 people. And the
oh,
summer fleas were about 1,000 people. So annually we had about 4,000 people in attendance. And we would have a ton of vendors that would come in, and it was quite the thing, working the door for the flea. I don't know if anybody listening to this has ever had $40,000 run through your fingers in 3 days, but we always joked how we would spread it out onto the bed and roll naked in it. We never did that, but but it was rather funny. Yeah. It was quite an experience, and I have to shout out to my NELA board people of, Cecilia and Vivian and Danny and all the people that for years had worked on the flea, that were really essential for creating the wonder that was the flea. It really
it
was.
was a wonder.
It really was. To think that, and a lot of the hotels when we came into them, we would give them what was known as the dog and pony show, where we would come in and we would do training for the staff so that they knew exactly what was coming in, and we would bring them,
Yeah.
a little bit of accoutrement, and they would rather, pass it around, and lots of smiles. And the fun thing was that a lot of the hotel employees would come and go shopping,
I'm
when the
sure.
shift was over, or come in before their shift was on, and we had an awful lot of fun with a lot of the hotels, so it was great in a lot of respects, where they were, the hotel staff was kind of shocked at how well the machine was oiled. Different fleas over the years, depending upon what the venue was and how we kind of had to, man things. Some of them took between 300 to 400 volunteers just to put on the flea
Yeah.
itself. So it's
Yeah.
also them too, and we had a lot of the vendors being very thankful, because when it comes to a lot of events that were like this, the um, load in and load out of the vendors
Mm.
were actually done by the vendors themselves. But we had volunteers that all they had to do is pack their stuff up, and we would have volunteers that would pick up the boxes and load them out and load them in, and they were very thankful. And we had some really great vendors over the years that we absolutely loved. Joe the shoe guy, shout out to you. you know so Rubio, Utilakilts, Sabrina and her corsets.
I
um,
always remembered, I mean, by the time I started going to the Fetish Fee, it was an event.
yeah.
It was an event that included incredible classes. I taught a few. I attended so many different shows, vendors that were not really just leather and kink, but you could lose your heart to a jeweler who made beautiful things that were erotic, but not necessarily kinky.
Right.
Artists who brought their work there, craftsmen, not
Right.
just kink craftsmen, but people who were doing beautiful bracelets that might have been more in line with the Renaissance fair, but still could be used as kinky. I mean,
Well, that was one of the things I was going to
vendors
say,
are incredible.
is that a lot of the people that were coming in the door were from Renaissance fairs because we had corset makers. And so a lot of the people from Renaissance fairs from that community would come in and shop for the corsets because they knew that the people that were there were high quality corsets that they were going to get. They weren't something that was just, cheaply manufactured, uh, things, that these were actually high quality things. And so, there was a wealth of people that walked through the door. And beyond vending, we also had things that were discussion groups and what we called special interest groups, or SIGs. And they would do what we called birds of a feather talks. And so we would have ones on, there was one for kinky Jews, there was another one for gay men, there was another one for age play. There would be, many different types. If you thought it and wanted to do a discussion group on it, we did that. There were ones for pagans. There were ones for um, uh, all different types of people. Um, so it was quite an interesting thing. Um, and the classes ran from anything, as from how to properly clean out for anal sex to how to put on a gangbang. I mean, it was just you know a full breath. If you could think it, we would put it on. There were very few things
Class.
that we were not open to. There were some that we had to do, that we couldn't do um, a demo for, because some of them were you know hazardous.
No lighting somebody on fire and letting them run through the
Yeah,
vendors
you
area.
can't do fire play in a hotel.
Yeah,
You
not
can't.
without setting off every alarm for 6 blocks.
Even like temporary piercings, we had a hotel that didn't want us to do that because of the hazmat situation
Got it.
and that
Got it.
sort of. So I mean, there were many different things, that we would not necessarily want to do a demonstration, but we would do a lecture on. You know, um, we were open as long as it didn't involve children, animals, or dead people, things that couldn't consent.
Thank you.
We're open to things. And there were times when we would have to, find out what the presentation was beforehand before we.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but for the most part, we tried to keep an open mind for whatever it was that people wanted to present.
Mm, wow. First things first, as I have opened all of this magnificence and I keep peeking. Now, some of you would call these trick towels. I would call this golf towel. Yeah, yeah. That
Or
makes
cum rag,
yeah.
because that's really what we called them ourselves. And those were actually handed out at Boston Pride. We would throw them into the crowd. That is the third logo for NELA.
That's quite a souvenir to be
Yeah,
tossing into the crowd.
yeah. I have a collection of them myself, because we've created different ones over the years. Sometimes they were
I was
specific
wondering
to
about
like
that.
the event, and sometimes they were generic, just like that one, where we could use them for multiple years. But sometimes we had created ones specifically for wherever we were.
So you kept one printer very, very happy.
We had a good relationship with the printer. I can't think of the names at the moment, but yeah, we had a good printer, and Vivian was good at getting these things done.
Now, what these covered is treasure. In this box, and I'm just going to start pulling these out by the handful, are programs. Now, these happen to be duplicates. These are programs from the Fetish Flea
That's number 36. If you notice that the handcuffs are actually in the shape of
in the
36.
number.
So each fleet was actually numbered. That's how we, from number 1 to number 52. If you look the spine on those particular, look at the spine on those, how they're kind of, they're not perfect.
Used
Yeah, no, that's the way that they were delivered. They came from the printer that way. They were not perfect.
because I was going to say, I thought they were from rubbing. Now,
Yeah.
I'm just picking up a handful of these smaller ones on the side. Remember what I had said about programs and their importance, not just in documenting the incredible, oh my stars, look at these, the incredible history of the event itself,
That's number
but
30.
the people who have presented at these events,
Mhm.
where the events were located, who was going to be there, who was going to be vending, basically, who was supporting us. That's what a program tells you. And that's one of the reasons as I look in this treasure box, not only is it a trip down memory lane, and there are enough of these, some of these are duplicates. So to my annexes, yes, for some of the duplicates, you will be getting some, but just looking back at the organization's history, the event's history, who presented, who was going to be there. Oh, here's a quote from Aleister Crowley. You gotta like that. What topics were hot?
Yeah.
How the event grew. Some of oh, here's an interesting one. I'm just going to hold this up while reminding you this is from NELA 2010. So we were thinking about our people even then. And these are the kinds of things you find in programs, things
Neil
that are trendy. And
Neela was one of the first organizations to have gender neutral bathrooms at their event.
oh, I am going to have so much fun putting these into notebooks. Look at the beauty of the programs, looking at the artwork. Look at this. Now, at the library, if you've ever been in the program and newsletter area, which is, thank goodness, quite large and getting larger, we will take these, open them, and slip them into notebooks by their year so that not only are they in chronological order for you to read and enjoy, a scholar can study them. We encourage people to take these wonderful treasures out of their notebooks, look at them, study them, see if there's someone there whose name looks familiar or who was the presenter for your first event. That is part of the joy. Oh, and isn't he handsome? Of looking through an old program.
I believe that's the last one.
This is number 54. So this is the last program from the last Fetish Flea. Look at how wonderful these are. Look at how beautiful they are.
Yep, number 38. Yep.
Look at this incredible artwork.
Yep, number 40. Open that one up to the front page. Open it up to
Before I could even get to the front page, I had to look at the back. Look at this.
Amazing was a good sponsor of ours for many years.
Memories.
Yep, there's Brian. Go to the next page.
We get to remember those we love, establish funds in their names that will help the next generation. Pantheon of Leather 2012. Good Lord, am I that old? Yes. I shouldn't even have asked that question.
Yeah.
History. Who we are.
Yeah.
How we've evolved as a community.
Brian was a long time volunteer with us as well. We met him, I believe, at Leather Leadership Conference in 2007. He was a wonderful man.
Huh. Now, just out of curiosity, who is that handsome gentleman?
That was when I was chair. That was 2012. That was when I stepped off the board.
Just incredible work.
Yeah.
Incredible cooperation. A community coming together, not just to put on an amazing and memory-making event, but to also increase our knowledge and our spirit. Look at all of these wonderful presenters.
Yep.
And classes and so on. Oh my, I am going to have so much fun putting these into books so that everyone can enjoy them. And thank you for the duplicates. The annexes, thank you for the duplicates.
You said don't throw anything away, send it all to me. So you got it.
Let's see what else is in here, because I have no shame. And I see paper at the bottom. Oh, yeah. Look at these programs. Look at how gorgeous. This is
So,
not going to fit into my notebook, and I don't care. I'll just stand these up
okay.
and
So
show them.
this one is actually because we would print these things. We would for people that had a hard time reading. So people that needed a larger print. And so we would print a number of them larger. We actually would have, we were very much attuned to people with disabilities. So we would have things like that in order to help people.
I love that long before it was trendy.
Yeah.
And of course, the first thing I open up to here are community groups. Now, this is also gold for a scholar. What groups were around? Just like looking back at the AMCC notes, these are clubs, organizations, who was around then. Those are the kinds of things you find in programs.
NELA every single year would have a section that was dedicated, and they were called community tables, and they were free of charge. We never charged for them at all. And so communities, different clubs and organizations, they would come in and they would be able to have a table all weekend long, and we wouldn't charge them for it because we wanted to be able to help promote the community. And I always loved it because I could grab all of their, at the end of the weekend, grab all of their promotional material and grab it, and then I would take it and go to all the prides and put it out. So
Well
that
done, Scott.
whenever I went anywhere, if there was an envelope that was open somewhere in New England, I showed up there with a table. So we were at practically every single pride event within the New England region, and I would put out everybody's things if it was an event or if it was an organization. So basically everybody kind of got a full breadth of what was happening within New England. this way we could really truly be the New England Leather Alliance.
I love this. This is now back in my day, we called it the blue sheets because that's actually how we had to print them.
Though that's large print. Those are large prints that we would hand out to people.
Seriously?
This we would though read the top of it.
Incredible.
Read the top of it. It says large print program book.
I
Look,
did, but I thought this might be
that's the actual
what the
handout.
one that went to the printer.
Nope, that's the actual handout.
I am amazed. Yeah, you had to have sent at least 3 of the printer's children to college.
Actually, we had a good printer. We really, they were good, and it was more of the volunteers that actually put it together that was really the mainstay of all of it.
Yeah.
I bet those are the scarlet leathers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell me a story.
So the Scarlet Leather was the newsletter that NELA put on. It always had, we always had a hard time trying to get content for it. Trying to get people to write for it was always the issue, and that was part of the reason why I kind of went by the wayside eventually, because we just didn't have the amount of participation into it from the community that we wanted. We would constantly say, "Hey, please send us things, whatever it is. We'll put it in here." And so that it went for a while. I don't know exactly when it started. It started before I got involved with NELA, and I got involved with NELA late 2003.
Got this box of treasures just in. I'm laying everything down gently flat so that nothing gets ruffled. I'm so glad there are multiple copies of this. It keeps me from having to kill my children. It really
Unfortunately, I know that there's some that are not going to get a copy of each and every single issue that's there. So
they'll survive.
they'll have to. There's electronic copy within the AMCC files that I gave of all of those and more. There are ones that you have an electronic copy of that you don't have a physical copy sent to you.
This is just incredible. And now current events, as I'm looking at this newsletter, and you're seeing not just the things that are going on with the organization, but look at what's said on the bottom here. It talks about Massachusetts and same-sex marriage. So not only do you have the information of the club that was going on in 2003, you also have information about what was going on in this state.
Yep.
So it can be put all into historical context, and you can see what people were doing, the things that were important to the community. All of those things are found in newsletters and
Yes.
in programs.
Yes.
So, Scott, this is amazing. This is just amazing. For all of you who are in the New England area and are curious about what your leather grandparents were doing, these are the pieces of information that you can come to the library and read.
There's one more box, not the one that you originally had, but there's a third one. Grab that.
Hold that thought. You know what? Let's do that. Oh man.
No, it really needs to be with the rest of it. Trust me on this. Follow my lead, please.
Okay. Now, because I'm going to have to get up to get it.
Yep. We'll be here. We're not going anywhere.
It's a good thing I had my Wheaties today. The weight of paper is magnified by the knowledge that it contains. So I am going to go stagger in with another box. Don't go away. You know, Scott, compared to the one we just opened, this is lightweight.
Yes, this is why I'm telling you to open it. There's only two things in there. Maybe three, but because I think there's something else that's in there as well.
Find the top.
Yeah.
Now, as a slave, though retired, it shouldn't be all that difficult for me to find the top. I don't want to get too close with a sharp object. I'm always so very careful about contents,
This
lest
one,
I
this one,
accidentally.
this one is, you can be a little rough with it. It's fine.
It looks like the postmaster was. All right. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
I did get heavy duty tape.
Okay. Folks, we have banners.
Yes.
We have, I'm about to be very careful
Ye, it,
because these are the holes that would allow it to be hung so that the wind would blow through. But I also want to make sure that, yeah,
these are the NELA Parade banners for Pride.
I am not doing this banner justice, but there is no way my little camera can show you everything.
Yep.
But oh my stars,
That's the one with the second logo with the whip.
which was always my favorite. I'm prejudiced.
Yeah, the logo was changed because we were dealing with hotels and we wanted to come off a little bit less aggressive and a little bit more corporate friendly so that we didn't get
That
people
makes
down
sense.
their nose at us. So we changed it to the third one, which is this one right here, which is that's the third one.
I have had similar things that have happened with the Carter Johnson various banners. Now, one of them, I must admit, was a direct thumb in the nose of a man named Pete La Barbera, because it was a direct quote from him that he thought was an insult and I thought was a compliment. So, misunderstanding.
Exactly.
He called us, he said the library contained, quote, the most deviant and pornographic content known to man. So I put it on a banner and quoted him. This one. Now here is the
That one
traditional logo.
That one wasn't the parade banner, but that was one that we used. That was the first one that we had printed of the new logo when it came out. It's been through the war and back.
Very
Been on-
subdued and very family friendly
yeah.
for walking in a parade. Now this banner is ginormous. And I'm going to ask you to tell me about it because I don't think I would have enough space
That's
unless I move to my
right.
sunroom to
Exactly.
even begin to open this.
That's the
So
other parade
here's a
banner
peek.
for the the last logo. So the one that's here on the bottom, that's the parade banner from that. So you have both parade banners that we had.
This has to be what, about 14 or 15 feet?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. It was a much larger banner. Is there
well,
anything
made sure it was seen.
is there anything else in that box? I think that's it.
Just the three banners.
Yeah, that's all that's in there. Yep.
This is fabulous and will be loved, properly stored, and maybe when the youngins come out, possibly hung, just because we can.
You know, you could always put it on a ceiling. That way they don't take up
Look
walls.
at that. I like that.
Yeah, you know?
I like that.
Mm,
But I'm also thinking of a great play. Hopefully, this fall, we're going to be having 10 youngins coming out um, to camp
mhm,
in the library backyard. And to not only put this on the side of the center where it can get a little sunlight and unkink just a little, but to hang one of these between two of the pillars of the pergola and
mm.
get them to call you and ask a few questions
Sure,
so that we could have a little bit of fun outside and they can get a little bit of history.
sure. I can tell them about NELA. I can tell them about other types of history. Sure. You know, I'm always up for a Zoom call.
Scott, the next generation is so eager and hungry for knowledge. It has been such a joy watching them discover things and to have new things to discover and unfold and ask about. Ah, this is just adding to the treasures that they can look at and pretty much understand some of the stepping stones that help them get where they are. I thank you so much.
Sure.
How many people would like to come and lay hands on these? Because you really do get the spirit of them when you lay hands on them. If you want to look at these banners and banners from other clubs, we have the banner from the Florida Boys of Leather. We have a banner from the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom. Of course, we have the library banner and a few other wonderful textiles that talk about who and what we are. So, if you're curious, you know how this goes. Come on down. We will see you.
In the
Actually, I
library.
like that. We, Scott and I, may just see you in the library.